Welcome back to another episode of Accountants Has Sexy Changed My Mind. I've got a very special guest on today, someone who I met last year at Accountex and who I've wanted to get on the show ever since. He tells me that he doesn't think that he should be one of the guests because he thinks all of the guests are amazing. And I say that's bull, and he is my special guest. So please
Oh,
welcome from Sage, Timothy Compton.
hello, hi, hey Kelly. Look, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on, and thank you for such a warm welcome. Because yeah, genuinely, I think the phrase I used was I think I said all your guests are mega, and I don't know
Yeah,
if I'm mega enough.
you
Because
you are mega.
you
Like
interview the
you are
great and good. You spoke to everyone, and no, I was incredibly flattered when you asked me, and yeah, really delighted to be here. And hello, listener. Hope you enjoy this one.
Hello, everybody. As I say, you are mega, and from the first meeting with you, I thought that you're a really special person, and actually, you're really fun. And I really enjoy your enthusiasm for the accounting space because, from your own admission, you're very much learning about accountants, and it's been quite a ride for you. Is that right? Would you say so?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't be too kind to me because I'm an emotional guy. I cry quite easily. So you just sort of like you just caught me off guard there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I came in cold. My first day at Sage 18 months ago, just over, was Accountex Manchester,
Yeah.
and it was off the back of lockdown. I spent a huge amount of time alone in my flat. And I just rocked up at events in Manchester full of accountants and bookkeepers and vendors. And Sage had these huge structures outside, these big sort of activations. And I didn't know anything. I did not know anything. And it was incredibly nerve-wracking.
Mm.
And I learned I didn't know anything about software, didn't know anything about accountants, but I knew my craft, marketing, social media, community-based marketing is what I'm passionate about, and I've loved it. But I've been incredibly lucky as well, Kelly. I've had amazing people support me, get me up to speed. I've had ins to communities through, some of the wonderful people that you all know through the community, and I've been incredibly lucky, I think.
Mm. And that so the first day of your kind of job was in Manchester, and then the following year you were sitting on a panel with me
With
and
you,
Francesca and Vicky.
I
How
know.
did that happen?
That was, I mean, that again was just what an. I mean, I loved it. Obviously, I was absolutely delighted, and I was again was very. People find it hard to believe that I get nervous because I'm quite this sort of gregarious character. But of course, we're all
Yeah,
riddled with self-doubt, and And I was looking at this panel, thinking, well, I love Vicky Bodice. It was Vicky actually who sort of put me onto it. She's an absolute star, and we're good friends. But
yeah,
obviously, Francesca, I think she's just the best. And
yeah.
then obviously you as well. And I was like, these are three people who people are going to want to hear from. And then this idiot, who like. And it was yeah, the opportunity came along, and I was nervous, but I was like, yes, of course, who wouldn't want to talk on a
Yeah.
panel with those three people who are just so
It's
inspiring
really
and so much fun,
I had very similar feelings myself.
really,
Yeah, very
really,
similar. I
yeah,
was like, oh my goodness, because I still consider myself relatively new to this
yeah,
industry. I've definitely I've niched down into accountants. I only serve accountants. I'm in this industry. I'm in it for the long haul. You don't change your business name to accounting pirates just
yeah,
disappear the next day. But I still consider myself, and I appreciate that I've been in it a few years. So I still get nervous. I still get like
okay,
overwhelmed when people ask me to do
yeah,
stuff. It's cool.
yeah,
But I do want to say my husband was in the audience, like obviously taking pictures of me and stuff and being the dutiful husband that he is. And he said that you were the best of the speakers on
oh,
that
come
panel.
off it.
He
I'm not
did.
having that. I'm not
He
having
did.
that in a month of Sundays. No, I think
I was a little bit offended, but whatever.
well, I mean, first of all, Kelly, I think he's a brave man to not say you. I think he's a braver man than I. But I no, that's incredibly flattering. And what fun! Didn't we have fun
Yeah.
though? Didn't we have fun? It was fun,
Yeah.
and
It
yeah,
was easy when we were
yes,
up there, and once we got into our flow,
mm,
it all became a lot easier. And I think it's a real testament to saying yes to stuff and then figuring it out afterwards. So, I get for people out there who are thinking, oh, should I put a proposal together for Accountex to do a talk? Just do it because you can get up there and just figure it out. You'll be all right.
you just described my MO, which is say yes, agree to
Yeah.
do it, and then work out. Okay, how does this work now?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's never as bad as you think it is in your head, right?
nobody wants you to fail, right? I think that's the key thing, isn't it? And I think it's nobody sitting there thinking, gosh, I hope this person falls off the stage or falls flat on their face. There's literally no one in the
Yeah.
room who's thinking, I hope they mess this up.
No.
You know,
But there is
you know,
that thought in my head thinking, oh, please don't fall off the stage, Kelly. Please.
my thing would be like, don't swear, don't say something wildly inappropriate, don't disclose some kind of confidential information just because I just can't keep my mouth shut. That would be my fear, I think, frequently.
You're gonna
Don't say something wildly inappropriate by accident just because you just motor mouth, you know.
Yeah, check yourself before you wreck yourself, Timothy.
Before you wreck your entire career. Is it Mark Twain who said, 10 years to build a reputation and you take 10 minutes to destroy or whatever it is? I can't remember I've
Absolutely.
misquoted that, but yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No, I've never done anything like that. But yeah, you do have these sort of, these are the thoughts that fly through your mind when you're nervous and you're about to speak in front of a room sort of full of people.
So tell me a bit more about your journey with Sage then, because we were talking off air and it was getting really juicy. I want to bring that back because you're very fond of the Sage family company. I don't know how you want to describe it, but let's hear a little bit about the inner workings of that company.
The Sage fam, you nailed it. I call it the Sage family. I know internally some people find that a little cringe because I've been told as much to my face, but I love it. I call it the Sage family because I'm all about community, as I said, and I think I love it, and I think I'm very grateful for the generosity that I've had from people since I've joined. I was really lucky, as I said, to Chris Downing is someone who absolutely just let me into his world and let me get access to the people that he knows, not just him. I could reel off names and names and names and names, but within Sage, I've just been welcomed in with open arms, despite, as I said, not having had any experience of the I dedicated to UK and Ireland accountants and bookkeepers in practice. So that's like my target audience, right? So yeah, my journey with that is, came in, I was really lucky to come in just as for the acquisition of Go Proposal. So the vibes were immaculate. It was such a good time. And, I really feel like I came in at the best time to come into the company. And you've seen, obviously, Accountex last year, we launched the rebrand, and it was just such a privilege to be there because that was a global rebrand of the Sage logo, not just a change of symbol, it was call it a symbol of change, and it was internally as a thing that we used to say, and it was all about this is us sort of like really sort of showing what we knew all along, which is this, that we are this sort of modern forward thinking company. And I think I think it was an absolute privilege to be the first real world event was Accountex London, and I think it showed the fact that that was the commitment by the company to the UK accountants and bookkeeping community. And I think more importantly for us to be able to be the people who showcase that new look was just unreal. And I think I was listening to Caroline when she was talking about Accountex last year, about that feeling of the joy, the overwhelm almost of that experience. And I felt that, and I was my first one, and I was like, wow, this is so, and people coming up going, looking at the look of the stand and stuff, going, they were emotional. They were saying, wow, looks amazing, and it felt really special. So that was a good journey to be on. And I think that since I've been there, it's just been such a good time. And obviously then we announced the acquisition of Futurely, and I'm lucky enough to work in an office where I've got the Go Proposal team sat behind me, and they're such a wonderful group of people to work with. My team, my marketing team, the UK accountants marketing team.
I want you to talk about, you were saying, because I follow them on TikTok, obviously, obviously I do.
Yeah.
But you were saying that bunch of crazy loons that are on TikTok.
That's what they're really like. If you see them online and you think that's some kind of marketing ploy to show a culture that it doesn't exist, that's not right. That is what they are like. If you see Heather and Morgan and Ebony and Jack and Besham and all those lovely, wonderful people, Charlie, everyone who's like, they post things online all the time, they're all really upbeat and kind of fun and just cool. And that's what they're like. Working in the office, that's what they're like. That is absolutely what they're like. There's nothing fake about that at all. It sort of says, if you see Go Proposal online and you see them sort of having fun, like Besham and Jack and Heather and Morgan and Ebony and everyone, they're really like that. If you think that is in any way contrived, no, that's really what they're like. And I get to work in the office with them every day, so it's great.
That's amazing. I do miss those kind of interactions now, working from home on my own. As I said to you before, I'm kind of just chained to my desk most of the days, and I get all of my social interaction via online meetings like this. So, but I do miss the days of having fun in an office, and they do seem to have a load of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I love going to the office. So I'm lucky that I located near to where our Manchester
Mm.
office is. I like going in. I enjoy it because I like being around. You know me, you've met me. I love being around people. That's why I love the events. I go to the events. I always go hard at the events because I just love being
Mm.
around people. And I think that's such a
It's
special
a
thing.
great
And again,
energy.
talk about my journey at stage, but talk about my journey in the the industry. It's just joyous, isn't it? And I know you've talked about this at length with other guests, but the community is just amazing.
It really sets the accounting industry apart. I think there is not another industry that I've found that
Great.
has such a close, tight knit group, and I think that's both. And we'll get into this from a marketing perspective, a
Sure.
blessing and a curse,
Yes. Yeah.
because you can have like incredible reach as an accountant just within your own community, and you feel like you're doing marketing. And I see this sometimes, and what they forget is that actually their customers aren't other accountants, and they need to get into other communities, not just the accounting community. What do you think about that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. You're very good at this. You know what you're talking about, obviously. But I think, I've seen like sometimes it's typical. I think I've heard you talk about tribes before, but yeah, they kind of, some of them run in packs, don't they? And it could be around the type of software that you use, the institutes that your professional
Yeah,
bodies or anything like that. Or it could be just the locale, like people in your local community, near, and you're right. And I think it's easy to feel like, we all get into those little bubbles, right? I've been guilty of that before. I've been in a digital marketing, performance marketing bubble before, and you forget actually, a huge number of people aren't seeing what I'm saying.
yeah,
And I've noticed that because I've moved into a new industry, and I'm seeing a lot more. If you go LinkedIn, you go accountants. I love it when accountants, bookkeepers are the top people viewing my content. When you look at like the industries that people say they're in, I love that. It makes me
yeah.
feel like, oh, I'm doing something and reaching new audiences. You've
Yeah,
got to
this
keep
is
challenging
hitting the
yourself.
mark because my target audience is seeing me.
Yeah,
And I do get a lot of marketing people because I'm naturally connected with a lot of
same.
marketing
Yeah,
people, but they're never top now because I've worked so damn hard to
right.
build a bigger audience of accountants and bookkeepers.
For me, it depends on the content. So there's certain content that I know will really resonate with people I've worked with before. So typically stuff around my mental health or whatever I'm going on about in any
Mm,
particular moments. And other content sort of works better, particularly stuff around the events really sort of tends to go better. But you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that they this idea of they're talking to other accountants, and as much as I love that how supportive it can be rather than confrontational or competitive, which of course it is. But that I love that spirit. But also,
yeah,
yeah, how can we as marketing sort of professionals, our
mm,
expertise, help them make sure that they are reaching the right people and doing the right things? Because yeah, you're right, it's so easy to fall into such of, oh look, I'm getting a lot of noise,
yeah.
but some are incredibly successful, but others, you're right, you probably need a bit more support.
Yeah, I think it's a false sense of security sometimes, especially when your numbers are going up and it's all very good.
Mhm.
But there's a difference between somebody with a small amount of numbers, like trickling into the thousands, and then you're talking about people like Laura. Gosh, I've forgotten her name. The
Right.
construction Laura,
Yeah, I know
and
construction.
she's
I
got
was,
like
I was about to say construction.
yeah, and
Or
she's got like
Taylor.
eighty-five
Yeah.
thousand followers now. I would suggest that like a load of them are accountants, which is great, but a ton of them are going to be her audience as well
A
because she's
niche.
so
Yeah.
specific about what she
Yeah.
speaks about. And I think
Yeah.
people who are just getting engagement from accountants are missing the trick.
Yeah, I think comes back to your why, doesn't it? Though it depends on what
Mm,
you're trying to do. If you're trying to build a personal brand, if you're trying to, but if you're looking to get, you know, clients, if you're looking to get referrals or anything like that, then yeah, there's
mm,
certainly there's different things. I think all I would say is around that is that actually, being connected with other accounts can be good because of course you can, they can support
yeah,
each other. And I know, for example, bookkeepers, for example, who might get work from
definitely.
accounting practices, and that can work. So there's nothing wrong with growing your network, but
Mhm.
always, again, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've fallen into this trap. Remembering your why, come back to what am I actually trying to achieve here? Because I can
Yeah,
I can walk in any meeting and point at some amazing numbers, but
yeah,
ultimately you're looking at ROI, aren't you? What is it I was actually intending to do with this? And if it is reach a particular audience, you've really got to work hard because it's
yeah.
hard to cut through these days. It's, getting increasingly difficult.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's the organic is
Yeah,
oversold as well. Organic reach, like you're going back like 10 years now when organic reach was at its peak. Now
oh,
you have to
the
work
golden
god
age.
damn hard.
The golden age of, do you know what, Tim? Do you know what you're going to do? I'm going to put the blog on Facebook. Watch that traffic spike. Oh, wonderful times. Well, they started messing with all the algorithms and stuff. But what the golden age of what they used to do, what you call like Web 2.0. Like, oh, look at this. You can use we could start a Twitter. But
we can start a Twitter.
But we're you know, we're all competing for a limited amount of attention, right? That's the commodity that people have the least of: time, attention, and we're all competing for it. And you're competing against, you know, particularly think about our niche, you know, accountants, bookkeepers. You're competing against not just what else they're seeing on the internet, what all the entertaining stuff they're seeing on TikTok or on even Netflix and things like that, but what they've got going on in their lives. That's the attention we're trying to get. And I think that's a gift, though. When someone gives you their time, someone gives you their attention, us as marketers have to darn well make sure, I feel really strongly about this, that you haven't wasted it, because that's precious.
I am so humble when people spend any time. Like, I'm overwhelmed when people listen to this podcast, when people engage with me on LinkedIn. I am so overwhelmed, grateful, and humble about all of it, because I know that that's just a portion of what they're up to in their day. You know, they've got so much going on. There's so much trying to capture their attention. If they just give me a tiny bit of it, I'm really grateful for that.
Agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I was thinking the other day, we were talking the other day about, you know, how do you have to remind yourself to do that. Like, I think the best quote, I'm going to misquote somebody, but the favorite quotes is they were saying, like, if your company's sending an email and your brand name is in the title subject of that email, you've chosen the wrong hero for your story. And it's something that I always thought about, because the hero, of course, is the customer, the person your audience that you're trying to talk to. And it's so easy to not, well, we want to tell them about ourselves. And actually, it's not about that, is it? It's about understanding how can we help them? What's going to benefit them? Like, what if they read that email, open that email, click on that, watch that webinar, click on that link, download that thing? What's in it for them, really? You know, because I'm not someone who really, probably shouldn't say that I don't care about leads, but I'll go in a performance marketing team, I'll get absolutely murdered. Nikki, if you're listening to this, don't. But what I mean is, it's like, you know, I'll get in so much trouble. But it's not about that with
leads will come.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more about, look, what are we doing to help people, because it's incredibly hard out there running a business, right? Any kind of business, but accountancy or bookkeeping practices, you know.
And software especially can, if it's sold badly and if it's supported badly, it can become a problem very quickly.
Oh, gosh.
So it has the ability to confuse and befuddle people and just overwhelm them, because it can be so complicated. So if the support isn't there, it can become a real issue.
And the other thing as well is that I am absolutely, you talked about being humble. I am incredibly humble about the fact when accountants partner with us, whether it's a paid partnership or just an organic thing, when they pin their colours to the Sage mast, do you know what I mean?
Oh, I do. As a pirate, I understand.
Right, there you go. That was it's almost like I planned that, but I just feel like it's such a gift, isn't it? Because if that software lets them down, if you're with the client and the numbers are wrong about the money or the compliance, you know, or that you're giving a report going, like, you could make them look, you know, absolutely. So it's got to work. And I think, and so when their brand is, you know, they obviously, you know, they love their companies, they start their companies, they love their brand, and they show love for your brand too. That's a gift, right? That's such a gift. I think you have to treasure that. But more importantly, like, can't let them down. You cannot let them down. Like, it's got to work. You know, our whole commitment is, you know, we talk about, I think what's the marketing line I should know? Helping business flow or making business flow or something like that. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. I've forgotten what the marketing line is. I'm not here to sell, but it's just like, it is about making things easy, right?
Come from here anyway.
Yeah, but it is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just that thing of, you know, we want to help people. We're here to help, right? Make things easier, not harder. And I think that sounds trite, doesn't it? But I think that's what we're all here to do, right?
Well, it is, but I think the lines are blurring now. I mean, you're in marketing and you are specifically focused on communities. And I think the lines are definitely blurring, because people can get hold of many different people in all different platforms, and it's all a bit wishy-washy now. Like, Like, so I think, yeah, the lines are blurring.
Kelly, I think, if you could see, I mean, the WhatsApps that I get, and
Yeah,
the link, I get DM'd on LinkedIn. I was on holiday and I was getting DMs off people in our
yeah, this
community,
is
and
what
I
I'm
felt like,
talking about.
and I was like, hey, like, I'm on the train right now. I'll be back I'm actually flying to Porto. I'll be back in a few days. I'll pick
Yeah,
this up then. And it's so easy to do that. But also, I think I actually enjoy that because like you talked about how close-knit the community is. I've made some friends. I've made some
yeah,
really, really good friends, people who have looked out for me, cared for me, supported me when I've needed it. And they're in our customer base. You know what I mean? But they're
yeah.
friends and they're amazing people. And you'll probably know the people because you'll have seen me sort of constantly bigging them up online because I love them to bits.
Yeah, no, this is it. And I think the work environment in general is changing. I was thinking about this earlier, obviously in the kitchen making a cup of coffee as you do, but taking your it used to be that when you went to work and you would have a personal problem, it'd be like, leave your personal problems at the door.
Yeah, yeah.
In that voice. I don't know who that was.
That's the voice. That's the voice they use, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But now your work and your life, there is so blended that they kind of just mold into each other, and your friends become your clients and your clients are friends, and the boundaries are different, and social media make you much more accessible. So it's not as cut and dry anymore as having, this is your sales department, this is your marketing department, this is your support department. It just seems to be merging.
I think there's two things there. One, we don't have to get into this on this, we'll talk this another time, but the idea of bringing your whole self to work, right, is incredibly important. And I think one of the reasons, to come back to your original question about my journey at Sage, one of the things reason I love it so much is because, I'm able to do that. I'm able to be me, and it's safe, and people have sort of welcomed me with open arms despite all of my my foibles and things like that. We've all got our stuff, right? But also, I think I love the stuff, the content I love online. You know how open people are, and
Yeah.
there's a ridiculous photo of me sat in the audience at Accountex dressed as an elf, listening to some of, and I had to go away and get changed because there were 4 accountants, so practice owners, opening up about trauma in their life and how they'd overcome adversity, and it was such moving stuff. And I remember I came back, I got changed, had to take the outfit off and quickly come and sit down again. And me and Joe Wood are sat at the back of the theatre, both just. I told you I cry easily anyway, but I cried watching Paddington 2 the other night. But regardless, which is, by the way, we could talk about that all day if you want. I love that film. But I think, but genuinely, it was so moving, and they were so open because they were trying to help other people. They were trying to say, look, this is what I've been through. This is how I got through it. This is what you can do to get through it. And it was such moving, devastatingly tragic at times, but also uplifting experience, and the bravery to share that with other people.
This is one of the things that I didn't anticipate seeing at Accountex. So I first went to Accountex in London last year to help out Fresh Pay. Like I was there, I was just like, oh, I'll just pop down, I'll just pop in, help them for a bit. Kind of, they were doing a talk, so I wanted to help them shape their talk, and then I'd just disappear again. And I remember like just floating around listening to a few people that were talking, and I was like, I didn't expect to hear this from an accounting exhibition. It was very personal. It's very human, especially Will Farnell, who will be on this show. Well, by the time, this is out on Tuesday, and then it's the week after that Will Farnell's out. So if you're listening, definitely tune back in next week.
That is one not to be missed. One not to be missed for sure.
But listening to Will Farnell talk about the journey of accountants and everything was so much more human than I'd ever anticipated a conference being, and that was magical for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good plug in there for the Human Firm, right? The new book, right? But I'm not going to do that because obviously Will's coming on. But I think, I completely agree. And actually, I'm talking at Accountex in London this year. Me and Vicky we're doing a fireside chat. And actually, can I do a plug, Kelly? Is this all right? Can I do a quick
go
plug?
for it. This is what it's all about. The show is about Accountex, so go for it.
So going to Accountex. It's day 1, 4 p.m. But I'm interviewing Vicky because it's all about accessibility, and it's all about accessibility in the workplace and her experience. So I'm not an expert in accessibility, either whether it's disability or other things, neurodiversity, anything like that an employer might need to consider when they're bringing in a member of staff. But of course, Vicky has lived experience that she's going to share, and I'm going to interview her. And I think it will be valuable because although it might not sound like the most fun kind of chat to come along to, it's got quite a funny name. I think Vicky's called it "How Did the Wheelchair Get Up the Stairs?" and Other
Yep.
Stories.
Saw that yesterday.
Be, I think, hopefully a lot of fun, quite moving, I think, but hopefully really insightful. And again, it's not something that I would have expected to see on the sort of education program or the theatres at an event like Accountex prior to me joining the industry. I would never have guessed, but it should be valuable to people who are perhaps thinking about growing their practice, bringing people in. Maybe they've got members of staff, maybe they've got things that they are. Perhaps they've got lived experience of it as well, and I think it's
and maybe they've just never considered it before, and that's the right time to go to a talk like that. I've never considered this before. It hasn't impacted me. I've got no experience of it whatsoever. That's the moment you need to go and find out a little bit more, because it does. It will impact you in some way. There will be something you haven't considered, and it might just give you a different perspective, and it might also open up a few doors and avenues to hire people that you hadn't hired before.
I don't want to do any spoilers, but I think one of the points we're going to talk about, things we're going to cover, is exactly that. Like, if you're looking at, those things that you can do to make sure that somebody who might otherwise not have easy access to work for whatever different reason, you can do that and support them, and actually they can add a huge amount of value. I know from people, accountants in our community, that they've employed people and made adjustments to things, and actually got an amazing member of staff that on paper other people were actually turning away. Which is, these things, this stuff, goes on for not for any nefarious reasons or any sort of, maybe it's unconscious bias, but also perhaps just not knowing, like, oh, actually, well, can I employ this person? Yeah, you can. And there's, you can get support from the government if you need, funding. But we'll get into all of that on the talk. But it's going to be great, and I love that that's a part of the program, because, like, to your point, thing about Will, the humanity, it's amazing.
I really value bringing difficult subjects to the top. This is why I put on the uprising. I wanted people to understand more about things that they didn't know that they needed to know. So racism, sexism, neurodiversity, things that just, if you don't know about it, and if potentially, it hasn't impacted your life, then it's innocent ignorance.
Yeah.
Once you know about it, and once you've kind of discovered it, then you can start changing the world for the better.
I think there's so much information out there now, isn't there? And it can be easy. I see those conversations online. It's like, well, you need to educate yourself. But sometimes you don't even know where to start. You might not even know to Google something, to ask the question.
Exactly.
So until someone points out that, things like unconscious bias might not be things that years ago, I'm sure you're the same. We never spoke about that. This was not on any kind of formal education through college, to university. None of this stuff really came up. There was no sort of at that time. And so lots of people have, I think about my parents, both retired. There's stuff in the world now, societal change, they would not have, they've never been exposed to this. So you need that sort of, like, to your point, raised up to even know what the right questions are, to even know what your gaps in knowledge and understanding are, and to make yourself feel uncomfortable, because I think you have to.
And to be okay with that. It's okay not knowing. And I think we've come into this world where we, especially with the online trolls out there, if you don't know something, you get penalized for not knowing. Oh, how dare you not know about this? How dare you not understand how it impacts the very small minority of people that have this particular disability over here? But it's okay not to know. What's not okay is not to ask and just to avoid it and not to talk about it. That's not okay. Well, not in my world, but that's
I agree.
The value that I have.
And you have that, because privilege is an interesting conversation, and I think that idea of it can just ignore things I can just ignore because it doesn't affect me. That willful, sort of, you say, well, do you know what? It doesn't bother me, so I don't need to think about it. But actually, that inaction has those quite serious knock-on effects, because there are people affected by this stuff, and you just have to just educate yourself. But if someone's there helping you, great. But no, I like things like, if you watch like The Last Leg or anything like that, where it's okay, look, is it okay to ask this? Yeah, it's okay to ask this. They make jokes about things in a way to break down those taboos, right? Because you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, completely agree. And on that subject, I'm going to do a small plug for my own, because I'm doing 2 panels as well. So I'm hosting 2 panels. One of them, can't remember which day which is, but one of them is on the menopause. And this is a topic that is so misunderstood. It's unreal. The more I lean into this topic, the more I realize that the information out there is just bull. Like, nobody knows the depth of this. And it's not even talked about. It's not even talked about within their own families. So mums don't pass this knowledge on to daughters because they just don't want to talk about it. So weird. Such an interesting topic. And the other panel discussion I'm doing is on impact. And I think this is very similar to what we were talking about in our panel. But it's showing accountants how their impact doesn't. It's not just how it reaches their staff or their clients. It's also about how their clients impact the world around them as well, and they have to feel a little bit of ownership about that, I think.
That's right. That's absolutely fascinating. The first one I remember, I actually knew because I heard you talking to Caroline about it the other
Yeah.
week, and again it was, and I hadn't seen it on the agenda yet, I hadn't seen the agenda yet, so I didn't know. I thought that was so interesting. Yeah, do you know what? Do you need to talk about that? That's something we have to talk
Yeah.
about, right? Isn't spoken about, and I've seen a few things online on LinkedIn, actually from one of the leaders where I am at Sage, one of our VPs over in America, and I thought, wow, that's a very very cool. But that second one, impact's really interesting. I didn't know you were doing that, and I completely agree
Yeah.
because when we were at the Digital Accountancy Show last year, there was a John Toon and Sam Mitchum and Chris Downing did one, and they were talking about sustainability in you know, and in practice and things like that. And obviously, this was prior to our acquisition of Spherix, which is now called Sage Earth. But it was all around you know carbon accounting and things like that. But also about how do you get clients to understand the impacts. You know, obviously business owners have a huge amount of impact on the environment, right? And I think that was a really interesting discussion that I actually, again, at the Digital Accountancy Show, did not expect to hear. And I love that it was getting spoken about in, again, from two people, John and Sam, who are incredibly knowledgeable. I mean, I could listen to John Toon talk about almost anything all day.
Well, funnily enough, I think I was trying to hunt him down for this podcast. So we'll
get him on. He'd be amazing. He'll be better than me. He'd be loads better than me. No, he's great. He's great.
So we've got Accountex coming up shortly. I'm sure that we are going to meet up for a coffee, but from other people's perspective, what are they going to expect from the Sage stand? Have you got any insights?
Gosh, wow. Do you know what?
How much fun is it going to be?
Wow, it's going to be loads of fun. I'm going to have to be very, very careful because if I let any cats out of any sort of proverbial bags, my neck will be on the chopping block. Needless to say, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you can expect, hopefully, some, again, fun, good vibes. What I love about accounting is how much fun they have. There were some photos from Accountex Manchester. We had so many photos with this ball pit and this sort of attack game and things like that, and the seesaw, and all the photos of people smiling. And I loved it. It was so joyous to see people who actually probably don't. They weren't even people I recognize. These are like just people from the community who were like saying, "Oh, accountants can have fun," and it was just, I love that, and I think you see that coming through more. So expect
anyone
some more
would think they're sexy,
Anyone would think that they are ludicrously sexy, Kelly. But I think, they are, and I just think that, that's one of the things I love about this. I love about your podcast and your whole thing about accountants being sexy, because I think it's true. So I think, expect loads of fun, expect loads of vibe, expect to see me here, there, and everywhere. And it's going to be a really good show. And I think just can't wait to see everyone. And again, like I said, it's not actually about us; it's actually about the people who are coming to spend the day there. And there's going to be a little bit of merch, a little bit of games, a little bit of fun, lots and lots of software to show off, but also hopefully just connecting with people, networking, talking, and getting around and just seeing people out face to face. I love real world events. I do.
I know, and we're both huggers. Thank goodness for that.
Yes, very tactile person over here. Yeah.
I have tried to warn people I'm a hugger. So if you come and talk to me, I'm probably going to hug you.
You're better than me because I need to be more careful about consent because I sometimes just hug people. I'm just like, I know, hug. They might absolutely hate that.
This is why I'm trying to do broad brush consent at the moment and just tell people on LinkedIn, if you come to see me, you are getting hugged.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Well, I'm looking forward to a hug then. But it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Right. Well, you didn't spill any secrets. Next time I will get you harder. But we are coming to the end of the show. So I wanted to ask you one final question. What is the sexiest thing about accountants?
Do you know what? Because I listen, I knew that was coming. So I have a prepared statement. No, I think what's sexy about me for accountants, honestly, I think what I've learned recently, I'm going to paraphrase one of an accountant from our community actually, who's saying that they are business people first, as well as sort of accountants, but also the creativity there. When I joined Sage, I was researching Sage and I was looking at content going out from all the different sort of stuff and all the accountants. I couldn't believe the quality of some of the content marketing that was going on. You've seen the TikToks, you've seen stuff. Some of the stuff was the YouTube videos, the podcasts from people who aren't, marketeers by trade. And I think and it's a skill, right? We know that it's an art. you know, to do this. And some of the stuff is absolutely genius, and it's funny, or it's emotional. Like the thing about storytelling. Can I just very quickly? Can you just indulge me very quickly? One thing I love about communicating and storytelling is you think when someone's talking, it can seem like it's a passive thing to be a listener, but it's not. It's actually, they've studied it, and brainwave patterns across a remarkable number of regions in your brain, when you're listening to a story, they start to align. If you monitor the storyteller and the listener, literally it's neural coupling. We're literally trying to get on the same wavelength. And I think there's something absolutely beautiful that our brains are hardwired, a primal level, to want to understand each other and to be understood in terms of what we're programmed to want to communicate, to understand each other. I think there's something beautiful about that. That's why I love marketing and I love communication. But also, when you see people doing that in our community, the way that they tell those stories, whether they be emotional, informative, dramatic, funny, you know, and it's amazing. And you wouldn't expect it. You would not expect it, would you, if you were outside of the industry? I know I certainly didn't. And I was blown away. One of the reasons I wanted to jump in, because I was like, wow, this stuff's really good.
It's quite incredible. The stereotypical accountant, it still exists, you know, that and that's fine because there's still a place for them. But you're right. I think they underestimate themselves with their level of creativity. I get people saying to me all the time, "I'm not creative. I'm not creative. I'm not creative." Yet they have loads of ideas, and then you know, like they are creative. They just might be slightly underconfident in order to carry that out. That's what I think.
Well, I hopefully I answered the question, Kelly. I think I got there in the end.
That was a beautiful answer. That made the hairs on my back and my arms stand up. That was really, really lovely. Right. We've come to the end of the show. So I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and joining me. I can't wait for people to hear this.
Do you know what? Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you for listening, listener. If you've hung on this long, you're a wonderful human being. And honestly, I had a really good time. Thank you. I'm genuinely flattered to be here, and I'm a listener. And now I've been on it, so I can say that's one off the bucket list. Yeah.
I'm going to hook people up with your LinkedIn channel. Is that okay?
Please do. Yeah. You know, I love new friends.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much.